Welcome back to Mexico News Network's Daily News, broadcasting from the beautiful El Dorado Royal Spa Resort by Charisma. Do not forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus for more information, and visit our website www.mexiconewsnetwork.com. Let's continue with the news. In November 2010, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, added Mexican cuisine to the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, the first in the world to receive this honor. Behind this recognition were the non-stop efforts of the Conservatory of Mexican Gastronomic Culture, an institution created to rescue, safeguard, and disseminate the culinary tradition of this country. This non-profit organization was formed in 2006 by researchers, chefs, cooks, professors, and journalists, with the task of preserving Mexican food and its ingredients. At the head of this institution is the writer, journalist, and diplomat Gloria López Morales, who is still working to consolidate the conservatory's status as advisor to UNESCO. One of its most important efforts is the International Forum on Mexican Gastronomy, a place where the public gathers to promote the flavors and aromas in authentic Mexican recipes, ancient secrets that have been held by Mexican chefs for thousands of years. An example of this was a group of traditional female master cook from the state of Michoacán. One of the speakers spoke in her native Purépecha language in front of 200,000 people. They both talked about their culinary heritage, their experience traveling around the world, sharing their culture, and the importance of preserving it. The conservatory is where modern and traditional ideas meet. The institution supports innovative trends that involve the preservation of tradition with the modern potential of expansion and developing Mexican cuisine while preserving natural resources. Mexican cuisine is primarily a fusion of indigenous Mesoamerican cooking with European, especially Spanish, elements added after the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire in the 16th century. The basic staples remain native foods such as corn, beans, and chili peppers, but the Europeans introduced a large number of other foods, the most important of which were meat from the domesticated animals such as beef, pork, chicken, goat, and sheep, dairy products, especially cheese, and various herbs and spices. While the Spanish initially tried to impose their own diet on the country, this was not possible, and eventually these foods and cooking techniques began to be mixed, especially in colonial-era convents. African and Asian influences were also introduced into the mixture during this era as a result of African slavery in New Spain and the Manila-Acapulco galleons. Over the centuries, this resulted in various regional cuisines based on local conditions such as those in Oaxaca, Veracruz, and the Yucatan Peninsula. Mexican cuisine is closely tied to the culture, social structure, and popular traditions of the country. The most important example of this connection is the use of mole for special occasions and holidays, particularly in the south and center regions of the country. For this reason and others, Mexican cuisine is so famous. Mexican cuisine is elaborate and often tied to symbolism and festivals. That's one of the reasons it was named as example of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Many of the foods of Mexico are complicated because of their relation to the social structure of the country. Food preparation, especially for family and social events, is considered to be an investment in order to maintain social relationships. Even the idea of flavor is considered to be social, with meals prepared for certain dinners and certain occasions, when they are considered the most tasty. The ability to cook well, called sazon, which means seasoning, is considered to be a gift generally gained from the experience and a sense of commitment to the dinners. For the Day of the Dead festival, foods such as tamales and mole are set out on altars, and it is believed that the visiting dead relatives eat the sense of the food. If eaten afterwards by living, it is considered to be tasteless. In central Mexico, the main festival foods are mole, barbacoa, carnitas, and michotes. They are often prepared to feed around 500 guests, requiring groups of cooks. The cooking is part of the social custom meant to bind families and communities. If you ever come to Mexico, you should definitely try the typical food. Black, steamy, invigorating, and delicious, sometimes with milk, sometimes flavored, and even chilled. Coffee has been a favorite beverage for centuries. Today, it can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere, and Mexico is not the exception. Here are some interesting facts between Mexico and coffee. Mexico is among the top 10 producers in the world. The world's top producer is Brazil. 84% of the coffee produced in Mexico comes from Chiapas, Veracruz, Oaxaca, and Puebla. 15% is produced in Guerrero, San Luis Potosí, Nayarit, and Hidalgo, with the remaining 1% in the state of Jalisco, Querétaro, Colima, and Tabasco. The traditional way of drinking coffee in Mexico is café de olla, coffee from the pot. It is prepared with cinnamon and piloncillo dried non-distilled sugar cane syrup. Certain regions of Mexico are ideal for growing coffee, thanks to their location within the coffee bean belt. The coffee around the world. 1.6 billion cups of coffee are consumed daily around the world. Coffee is the second most traded commodity, the first being petroleum. Top coffee consuming countries are Finland, Norway, and Iceland. The coffee bean is actually the seed of the fruit of the coffee plant. 65% of coffee consumption takes place during breakfast hours. It has 0 calories if taken black. No frappuccino, latte, or cappuccino. The most commonly used coffee beans are Arabica and Robusta. Arabica beans make up 70% of the harvest, and the remaining 30% are Robusta beans. Here are some caffeine benefits. Caffeine contained in coffee helps increase attention and memory performance. It also improves physical performance. Try taking a cup before working out. Taking coffee has been said to relieve headaches and even migraine. It is good to take coffee when working, but preferably when you have an idea or just need to focus. Coffee also has powerful antioxidant properties. It decreases the risk of heart disease. But remember, always consume it in moderation. Usually, when people hear the word grasshopper, they think of insects, but they do not normally think about food. In Mexico, however, you can find this critter in nearly any market. They can be consumed in many ways: dusted with chili powder, roasted with garlic, sprinkled with lime juice. Some people think that etymophagy, the consuming of insects as food, will be our dietary future. Though they do not look exactly delicious, they are packed with protein, and their harvesting has a low impact on the environment. In an interview with The Guardian, Belgian entomologist Arnold van Huys said that the farming of insects generates 10 times less greenhouse gases than farming livestock. In 2013, the United Nations published a book promoting edible insects as a solution for some of the world's foremost problems, with hunger and malnutrition being so prevalent in so many countries. It makes sense to cultivate animals with 80% edible bodies and do not require 10 pounds of feed to get 2 pounds of meat like pigs. Insects are in fact more nutritious than more common sources of protein. For example, 100 grams of top sirloin beef contain about 29 grams of protein in addition to a whopping 21 grams of fat, while 100 grams of grasshoppers contain 20 grams of protein, and a measly 6 grams of fat. Mexico has a long-standing tradition of eating grasshoppers, so entomography is not entirely strange for its citizens. But eating chapulines, grasshoppers of the Spanish genus, can be expensive. They cost more than pork or chicken, and sometimes as much as beef or shrimp. Grasshoppers may not be such a good option for people who wouldn't normally have money for meat. The problem is not that this is scarce, rather harvesting them is disorganized, often illegal, and difficult. Only a few hundred tons of chapulines are collected from a couple of regions in Mexico for food on a yearly basis. Chapulines, however, can be quite affordable if you buy them close to where they are harvested. But once intermediaries get involved and start shipping harvest around the country, the price increases, sometimes threefold. Outside of Mexico, there are other countries where bucks are enjoyed, including Thailand, Ghana, China, Brazil, Australia, Japan, the Netherlands, USA, to mention a few. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back after these commercials with more information.